Yo, yo, yo. Can you guys hear me? Who's here? Kurt, Skirt. Can you guys hear me? All right. Can you guys hear the music? Evening, Barry. You can hear the music as well. Oh, daddy. Fantastic. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to another day of breakdowns. We got some very saddening news recently, right? DonVo is not streaming tomorrow. He is doing some filming tomorrow, so he will not be available, which just adds the kind of importance of coming to these kind of live streams, understanding the analysis, and being able to take your own trades, right? The earlier you can do that, the earlier you have your own financial freedom, and the earlier you have kind of confidence in the markets, right? And entering those trades and not needing anybody else's approval to enter those trades. But yeah, we'll get into the breakdown very shortly. Just gonna start in about 7 minutes, so just in here to let people join up, and then we'll see. I think we hit 700 subscribers on the channel as well, which is absolutely nuts. Thank you very much, everyone. But somehow we only, I think it's because there's like a time difference. A lot of people watch this, the live streams, because they're relatively short, and I don't want to keep them, I want to keep them short. I want to have them being like an hour and a half, right? But because they're short, people can kind of come back and watch them, and it's easier for them to kind of like see the breakdown and everything. Yo, G88, you're back. Welcome back. Tom, how are you doing? Nimi, how are you doing? Yeah, short and sweet is better, right? I think if it's too long and you've like, it's like when you open a YouTube video, you see it's like, oh, it's like half an hour. Cool, you know, maybe it's a little bit too long already, but if it's like 20 odd minutes and you can skip the first bit and you skip the last bit and you just get in for the breakdown, then it's like, yeah, cool, I can do that. Welcome to everyone. We're back again. How am I doing? Yeah, it's not bad. I feel like temperature's dropping in London. It's quite a lot of rain as well. It's just average shitty London weather, but what's new, right? I feel that's just been that way for the last 10, 20, 30 years. Don't think it's going to improve anytime soon, but it is what it is. Oh, we have 20 people in here already. We haven't even started. We've been hitting around like 36 max, I think. We haven't hit 40 viewers at the same time yet, but this is good, right? This is exactly what I want. I don't want too many people here, because then I'm just going to get flooded with questions on the chat. And once we open the kind of Zoom access, the subscription for that, then it doesn't matter how many people are viewing this now, right? Then you have maybe like 10, 20 people on the Zoom, and maybe even less who are unmuted and actually gonna start some questions. So yeah, man, just I was down in Bristol this Tuesday. Bristol's horrible as well. At work in South America and it's 38 degrees. Jesus. Yeah, so where I'm from, which is Hong Kong, like it's disgustingly hot in summer, but it's also like really humid. So you're kind of like in an oven, but you're also being steamed at the same time. And that's like referencing food, because like that's the only kind of way I can imagine it. So it's really a lot better being in the UK, besides the rain and all, but it's actually not that bad sometimes. Yeah, the humidity is what kills it, right? But welcome everyone. You took a trade, 1873, If it was a good trade, took it because of my markets from yesterday. You want to learn, Frederick? Cool. I mean, that's when did you enter, right? 1873 is up here, right? I think. Yeah. I mean, there is a level here. I think this was the level we were looking to tap, right? To come down to these sorts of areas, which you did for news. So you took a sell here. Was it like the first sell, Frederick? Or did you get in like here, or did you get in here? It depends where you got in, right? There's different reasons for getting in at different... First one, that is exactly the position I took. Well done. I think it like, if it made sense for you, that's the most important thing. Alright? I'm gonna turn the music down a little bit. Yeah, so like this is what we call the trampoline. Like I've been taking these, and like occasionally, you know, you might get some pushback and up, but like it usually does some level of rejection. So yeah, yo, bougie, cool. I'm gonna get started very soon, guys. 2 minutes left. Yeah, I mean, like price takes its time. Like it doesn't want to follow anything, right? It's like, for example, I've been looking for these sells at 79 for ages, but is it gonna get there? I don't know. When it gets there, will I take a sell? Depends on the market structure, right? Not just gonna take a sell because it gets there, but yeah. So, I mean, GATA, right? If you just look at price in general, like let's use these levels. If you've pushed up, right? You've pushed up to here. You've created this, right? And you've done this, and you've even come back up, or you've done this, you've faked out. Like, this is cool. You're in a range, but if this was a previous bullish movement, right? You now, after this range, you don't know where it wants to go. It has no bullish momentum once you, if you like, because you can then kind of like ignore everything on this side, right? Everything here you can kind of ignore, and you can start focusing on this. It's now just ranging, so you don't know where it wants to go, and because of that, it's difficult to take like trades when you're in that range, which is why today for Genesis session, or the New York session that Don missed, unfortunately, like we were just ranging here, and like there's nothing we can do about it. On the 30, on the hourly, we were just in this range, and nothing we can do it. Took a sell 1876.5 till 1871 earlier this evening. 1876. Yeah, I was looking at these, but I wanted it to tap this because it's looking left, right? Every time you went up, you just filled, and it tapped here at least 77.78. So that was what I was looking. Yeah, welcome. Cool, guys. I'm gonna get started. Breakdown. As with the breakdown, we look at what price did. This is potentially. This was actually New York session. I'm gonna remove this. I'm just gonna start fresh, right? Cool. Monthly, you're still coming up. You have broken monthly highs again today. So you're gonna continue up. Potentially, that's what it's looking like. So, understanding that price was previously, you know, like it was kind of pushing down very aggressively. Now it's tapped this area, right? Once it's tapped here, where does it want to go? We don't know, right? This could be a liquidity grab to start going down, or this could be the beginning of a reversal. So we don't know where it's going to go. We can only look on the smaller time frame to see what's happening. But we've been breaking this down for like this ever since the 1st of October, right? Once it taps this area, it needs to make a decision, and this is exactly what it's doing right now. And it wants to push up right now, and it needs to grab liquidity regardless of what it needs to do. So cool, understand that you've already filled the range, so taking a sell to come down back to these areas is slightly more difficult, but it depends on the lower time frame. So if you go to the weekly has now created a top wick. It is currently creating a top wick for this current weekly, but it's also creating a top wick for the previous weekly, right? So let's look at the areas we have tapped, right? We've tapped into these sorts of areas now, like just the top of that wick, looking at these areas, right? Cool. Because we've tapped into these areas, this is another area it could make a decision at, right? And because this is an area we can that's kind of making a decision at, we can look on the smaller time frames to see if we can get potentially a small sell towards around the top of these ranges to start coming down, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to highlight this here. so that later on when I'm doing my analysis on a lower time frame, I can see what's up, right? And this, I'm going to highlight this. This I'm not going to highlight for now. Why? Because you've kind of actually I'm going to move this down to here, right? Why? Because you've come down like from these areas, right? Come down and you've tapped this level. Here you've come down, tapped this level. Here you've come down from around here, right, after grabbing liquidity, but you've come down and you tapped this level, and your kind of original point was here. Whereas for this, right, you've kind of come up. You've come up from these areas, so it's like you're not mirroring as much of the movement that I would like. So I'm just gonna focus mainly on these two areas. I don't even know if I have enough candles for this, but let's drop down to the daily. Daily, cool. We're understanding that the daily, after it taps here, it respects, right? It respected 1810. Fantastic, respected 1810 here. Here it also respected 1810, actually respected slightly higher as well. Towards around 1828, these areas came up to here, and you took some sells to come down, right? If you miss the first sells, which are these, it will come back to a similar area and you can get some retests before you go down, right? Because your general motion is still bearish, right? Let's look here as well. If you miss the first sells, you will get into second sells, or potentially even grabbing higher liquidity for it to push down. Yeah, so price currently is bullish, right, on the daily, right? These were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 daily candles which were all bullish, and then you started getting some motion printing and some structure, right? So that's exactly what we're looking for. So these areas I would still say are very valid, and the zones, I'm just going to mark up in terms of kind of the daily zone, or the area that we're looking to kind of retest. Get rid of some of these. I would use this. I'm going to leave this here for now, but I'm going to also let you guys know that this is less of a valid area now. And why? Because we're currently at that price point and we haven't pushed up after like a strong wick to those areas, right? We've only kind of slowly pushed up and edged up, so trickled towards those areas. So it's difficult to take a sell off the rip right now, right? Because if this is the level you're tapping, am I just going to take a sell now? I can't, because I'm understanding that if price wants to start going down, it needs to grab liquidity on the upside. So cool. In terms of my daily chart, these are my areas, right? The daily is also closing with almost not much of a bottom wick. Previous dailies also, I think this is Monday. Yeah, Monday had no bottom wick, right? But we also analyzed that this Friday candle broke all lows and started coming up. This one doesn't necessarily need a bottom wick, and also you had that massive gap on the Monday, right? So it's like you can't really expect this to come all the way back down. Cool. Let's go to the 4 hour now. Let's mark up our ranges. When it comes to the 4 hour, I'm going to put this here. 64. We have another range here. Cool. It's looking pretty good actually. On the 4, just going to mark out the 4 ranges in reference to this stuff, right? Obviously, because this is what we're looking to mirror. Can I move this slightly lower to here? I would like to, but does that match up? Yeah, I can. I'm gonna just quickly look on the hour to see where the actual range is. Cool. I think the range could be here. Yeah, I think there's a 30 range there. Cool. You kind of did fake out here to come back down to here, right? But it's looking like it wants to push up, which is fine. 4 hour also closed above for me, but overall I would say still respecting. I'd say 4 hour you're still respecting. So you're in for the 4 hour. I would say you're in a range between here and here, or you know, if there's a smaller range, at least this, right? So if that's the case, if this is your range, and like you're closing respecting the kind of resistance, any given point you can start flipping and driving down like this, right? And then you'd break all these lows and potentially even come further down, but you need to grab that liquidity towards these sorts of areas first. And I'm just looking in the past in these boxes, right? Where did price tap? What is that top of the range? What is that zone that it usually looks towards? And where we can get our positions potentially. So for something like this, I'm gonna have to drop down to the hourly because there's a lot of information in these boxes, but they're all wicks on the 4 hours, right? Like for example this. Where is that top of the range? I don't know. Is that top of the range slightly lower towards here? And I'm looking specifically at this, right? Where is that top of the range? Is it here? Like, I mean, just looking at these, looking at this, fake out, right? So I'm gonna mark up this as well as potentially a slightly higher point. And I'm out of candles. I'm just gonna look here as well. For this position, you know, you already have tapped into here, you've broken above, but if you start making structure around here, it's difficult to take a sell just off the rip. So I'm still gonna have to wait for one of these levels to get tapped, I think. And just looking left, I like this. Gives us a pretty good advantage point, even though it's only like 7 pips away. It's not very far, right? But yeah, every time price. So let's look on where the 4 hour is now. Every time price comes into this range, right, between 78 and 74, what did it do? It's coming up, ranging here. You got some sells around here. Potentially got some cells slightly higher up, so let's look at what those were. It's just the next range up, right? It's looking to be this. So I would say this is potentially also some cell levels. These are quite close though, so I might move this even further up. To the next level, probably around here, to be honest. Around here. Cool. Okay, these are my 2 cell levels. I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna say this because, firstly, when we look into the box, our boxes, right? Our first level here gets tapped. Eventually, like you might not get the first move, the second move, and whatever, but third move you'll get it. Or if it comes to here, it'll then make a decision where it wants to go. Because you tapped into these areas, but you didn't make a decision, right? You're still in this range. Obviously, this range is huge, but you tapped here, you had a strong rejection, and then that continued your bearish momentum, right? So this is a level that needs to get tapped before anything happens, right? Understanding that. And then secondly, I've put this as a second position just above. Why? Because I'm understanding that this is the next zone, right? The next kind of 4 hour, 1 hour kind of zone above. I mean, I might even move it slightly higher, to be honest, like towards these sorts of areas. But I'll need to see what this looks like on the 1 hour first. Let me just line this up with everything else, and then I'll have a look. This is okay. It's not the cleanest on the 4 hour, I'm not gonna lie. Can I move it even higher? Put 2 lines and just see where these are potentially. You could potentially get some entries around here. Okay, let's look on the hourly. This is literally just all I do every single day. This is all the analysis is, right? Just looking back and forth, see what makes sense for you. So cool. So let's say you got into cells here. Is this your optimal cells? I'm trying to account for trampolines, right? So this is your trampoline. If you get into here, first position, get a rejection for 30 pips already, right? So I don't want to discount that because that's really strong. Whereas if you got into the second position, you don't know, right? It's still bullish and you've just broken the highs. Is it going to come down? You're not too sure. What the fuck is DonVo doing? Welcome. But yeah, I would say first cells are there. Second, likely going to be somewhere around here. I'm going to put this as my potential second cell level, but understanding that, this would be a third, but I would say these 2 cell levels are one concept. if you get up to this point, these two sell levels don't matter anymore. Why? Because you've pushed above all of these ranges, so it's likely you're going to get some level of rejection, but it's likely you're going to be doing this, right? You didn't reject here, so it's likely going to do this, and you'll only be able to catch a small bit because you've confirmed that this is bullish, right? If you grab liquidity slightly lower, cool, then you have a slightly longer sell, but if not, I would definitely be break even here. That's like 18-20 pips, right? Still pretty good, but because of that, I'm gonna just 89 is a level, but I'm focusing on these two at the moment. Just gonna draw out some more hourly wicks, man. There's so many wicks here. Yeah, I think you're definitely in this range. Like this range, I was actually looking for the buys here, which would have been very clean. I didn't get into them because it happened so quickly. But you can't take the buys here anymore, right? Because you've already tapped this range. So if it comes all the way back down to here, you potentially even have closures below on the 30, on the hourly or whatever. So it could be just bearish movement. So there's no reason to take a buy in these areas. Your next buy area, I would say, is definitely going to be in these zones here, potentially like down to these areas. But yeah, I think the sell levels are pretty strong. Yeah, sell levels are good. Okay, cool. Let's look for some buys. Right, understanding that sells are likely to happen first because you're, very bullish right now. So, and it also doesn't look like you've grabbed liquidity, right? What does liquidity look like? This is liquidity. This is a liquidity grab. This is somewhat of a liquidity grab, not very like strong, I would say, but is this enough liquidity or is this just a range, right? Does this look like a range to you? It looks like a range to me. So is this not enough liquidity? Potentially not. So let's go back on the hourly. What range are we in? We're in a range between hourly, yeah, okay, so between 74, I'm gonna move this down to here, and I would say this is actually an hourly fake out, and there's definitely a range between 70 and 74, and we were bullish. 70, 74, okay, so probably like somewhere like this, right? So in between 70 and 74, these sorts of areas, potentially getting buys, say here. If you start breaking up like above these areas, right, the sells are less valid now because you've potentially taken this sell down, and then you're tapping these areas. So if the sells happen first and then taps into this area, cool, I'll potentially be looking for a buy towards 68. Where is 68? Cool, yeah, so if you see this, right, price is moving up, wicks into here, grabs liquidity before going up, right? That's what we're looking for. So we're looking for this first rejection here for sells, and then the buys to go back up to follow that bullish trend. Let's continue looking, just kind of examples, and let's just see what happened in the past and just if that is the actual range that we're playing. This massive box here, cool. Let's have a look. So if price continued to be bearish, right, taking a buy here doesn't make sense. Taking a sell, taking a buy. Cool, I could potentially also get some buys down here. Cool, and this is the power of pineapples, right? You're slightly far away, I would say. So your 68 depends on price structure. But if you just come down before getting those sells, I'd be looking for buys towards 1860. Why? Because I'm understanding this is a strong 1 hour support level, potentially slightly lower even. I'll keep it here for now. You have a lot of wicks here rejecting. What does this look like in terms of our current price, right? It's kind of this 1 hour support level here. Potentially it will be lower, but for now I'll have it at 1860. Anticipating that if price were to start reversing, so let's draw this out, right? If price starts, it's actually I'm gonna make this 30 for now. So if price starts rejecting, right, you've come up creating a lower low, right? And you come up, grab that liquidity, start pushing down. This is a level which it's likely to reject out, based on some of these. So you're likely able to take a part of this move, which will be this. With something like this, how many pips was this wick? this wick was about 25, so I have a lot of boxes now. Right, let me just actually find something more solid for you guys. 4-hour closure there. If your 4-hour closes celery like this, taking a sell here might be slightly difficult, and you might have to wait for slightly higher ranges, but we will see. We will see, right? The hourly is looking relatively okay because you're just closing respecting, but then you have some conflicting time frames. But let's have a look out. So we're bullish, bullish, bullish. Taking these, yeah, I'm liking this when it comes to mirroring. This is difficult because you haven't tapped those areas yet. Could you get potential buys? Where can you get buys here? Me push down. This is just a very disgusting range. I don't have any buys here. I mean, unless you tap like very low down, right? Like towards these sorts of areas. Like 1842, but that's way too far away. So I'm not gonna have those. If you get those cells, here. Let's have a look. Yeah, no. I think for now I'm gonna keep it at 868 and 60. Yeah, cool. If you're breaking into this ranges from here, anywhere within this zone, I would say. Zone to here. Slightly lower. No, I like this. Yeah, if you can come all the way down to here, and then you're kind of like showing bearish structure as you come down, look for a buy in these zones to retest that. It's not the cleanest here, but anywhere in these sorts of areas. Does it clean on the 15? Not really. It's not very clean anywhere. Just anticipating if you break into this zone, right? This, I would say generally, you kind of area. This is your range. It's actually down to here. So if you've broken into this range, you're likely going to fill the range, right? So once you come down, you just gotta fill the range. So taking a buy at these sorts of areas at the near the bottom of the range is going to be better off for you. So like, just, you're not going to be targeting much, right? The max you're targeting is probably like up to here, 36, but it's a playable range, especially if it like does something like this, right? If it comes down, comes up to here, comes up to here, and then it's like kind of like fake out and then just respecting, creating a higher high, then taking a buy here. Whoa, that's fantastic. Yeah, so it's showing there's some sort of like structure here being formed, or if it comes down and it does something like this, right? So like there's some confirmation here that this is potentially changing to a bullish structure, right? Then cool, I'll be looking for those buys once it wicks down. Hope that makes sense. Cool, I'm going to take some questions now. That's about 20 minutes. So people who want to do the like kind of analysis and just look at the analysis can. Fiend. Oh god. Honestly, that song, like the first time I heard it, I was like, what the fuck is this? It's so bad. The song. It's growing on me though. Alright, I'm just gonna go scroll through and get some questions in. Or if you guys have any questions, just feel free to start posting in, and we'll see what's up. Sells are trading against trend, very risky. I mean, you have created a lot of structure, right? You could have taken these cells here, you could have taken these cells here, you could have taken these cells here. I wouldn't say cells are very risky right now. I would say, in fact, cells are not bad, because you're understanding that, you know, you tried breaking through, didn't, came down, tried breaking through, faked out back into the range. Like, you need liquidity to go up or down. So if you get into a sell, right, you're anticipating this liquidity to get some liquidity if it wants to go up. If not, it'll go down, right? If you want to get the buys, you're anticipating there's going to be some liquidity being grabbed before going up, right? That's just what it is. I wouldn't say sells or buys are bad or like they're risky. I think you just have to understand what you're playing. Liquidity, sometimes it will not take liquidity. Yeah, I mean, obviously sometimes it doesn't grab liquidity and it just starts pushing, right? Those days we can't take trades. Why? Because it's not our plan, right? We're looking for a certain setup and it's a liquidity setup. If we don't see it, I can't trade it because I'm still looking for liquidity. What would it mean for your sell levels if the 4 hour, yeah, okay, so that's a great question. So if the 4 hour closes like this, right, you can anticipate that, okay, so the 4 hour at some point was bearish all the way down to here, right? And now you're flipping, you're closing here. You're closing somewhat respecting these ranges here. If you look on the hourly though, I would say generally you're not really respecting. You are like you're respecting this range, so you're not like respecting and in this range, I would say, but generally you're still very bullish, right? So expect price to continue pushing up in the short term, and if that is the case and you link that up to the 4 hour, it just could be like a seller to start going up, right? Sure, I'll still look for potential trampolines here, but it then makes it more difficult for us to hold the sells from here all the way down to where it wants to tap, you know, to grab liquidity towards 68, right? Because originally, if this was, you know, a closure below, like respecting, like for example, if it did exactly this, we'd be able to hold these sells for longer, potentially down to these sorts of areas, right? Or at least down to this range. But and those could be some runners potentially, but because it's doing this, it's kind of confirming that it's just short term wise, it's very bullish. So if it's going to trickle up, do something like this, it's difficult to take a sell here because you're understanding that if it wants to go down to grab liquidity, it needs to grab liquidity to go down to grab liquidity. Yeah, you can't just suddenly out of nowhere you're trickling up. You'll sometimes see this, but that's like some catalyst, right? And then this will be your liquidity move to go up. So I'm just anticipating where this will be if it's trickling up, right? Cool, but I still need to see certain levels get tapped. How to tell the difference between wick entries and the flip of candle entries? So yeah, for example, this. Let's say it's probably a better example here. So cool. Let's say you were, you know, in this structure here, price pushed down here, right? You're thinking, oh shit, okay, this could be a liquidity grab for us to start going up. So I'm gonna look for some buys. If you look at this structure on the hourly, right, this is just a fake out. On the 4 hour, it's just a wick, right? So if you were trading on the 4 hour, this would be a wick entry if you got into a buy around here. So this is a wick entry. But if you're looking for, what is it, a flip of the candle entry, right? So a breakout and then flip, right? Or just potential a flip. So once this candle potentially, you know, is closing bullish, confirming, oh, okay, it's bullish above or whatever. Cool, I could be looking for a breakout trade now. So if it's breaking out, at some point this candle was bearish, right? This candle here was bearish and it was coming down, right? And then we'd be potentially having sell stops, like here, on the candle flip, right? Oh, sorry, buy stops. Do I have a buy stops thing? I don't. But potentially had a buy stop here, so that when this candle flipped, right, that would be you'd be entering the trade and start going up. Does that make sense? Wow, there's so many questions. Yeah. Okay, let me just slowly. What do you mean if? Okay, yeah. So I had buys at a certain level, and it was tapped perfectly and rejected just as new as usually. So I didn't take them. Yes. I would say news. Like especially if you're in a trade and you anticipate there's like news in 5 minutes or whatever. I try to get out of break even if you can. Mainly because you don't know what news is going to do. News is literally gambling, right? Somebody's opinion will move news in a completely different way. So because of that, like good news can come out badly and bad news can come out well. So because of that, like you can't anticipate where it's going to go. If you're in a sell and like you're already in a lot of profit, I would like move your stops in profit or whatever. But if you're about to get into a sell and you see news, I'd just be like, oh, yeah, just be careful. Thanks for the analysis, it's all clear. What does off the rip mean? Off the rip is just like when we see a price level get tapped, or we like, instead of like a sell stop, like for example, if we got a buy stop here, right? Instead of this buy stop, we just watch price flip, and then when it is flipped, we just click buy or click sell at a certain point. That just means off the rip. And how much do fundamentals matter on gold with the Israel war? Man, I don't know. I just react to price action. You know, like this market, these charts, obviously they have some connection to the outside world, but I am only reading candles. I just see green and red. That's all I see. So waiting for the liquidity in the candles and then break of the recent lows before taking a sell position. If that sells come first. Waiting for liquidity in the candles, break of recent lows before taking a sells position. So what you're looking for then is potentially price to do this, and then you're looking for a break of the lows and then like a continuation, so you'd have a sell here. Is that what you're saying? I mean, this is just a breakout then. G88, you can take those as well, and occasionally we will take those, and there's a time and a place for that. You don't know how, but you blew your $100 account. Were you taking 0.01s? If you were, it's difficult, right? It just means you're not profitable, but you've proven that you're not profitable, and there's things you need to work on. Only risking $100 instead of like risking like 5k, 10k, or whatever. So you're ahead of the curve already, right? You understand where you're at, and you've proven that using a very small amount of capital. Isn't the 4-hour seller play? Yeah, it is a seller play. If it wants to push up from here, it's a seller play. If you want to get wick entries, I would say it's difficult. Looking on, like, sure, if you come down on this next candle first, come down all the way to these areas, I'll look for a buy, because I'm understanding that, you know, this is closing respecting, it could start pushing up at least these areas. So cool, I might get buys, but that it would have to have no top wick. Do I ever trade live? No, because we have that covered, right? We have Don for New York, we have Wix for Asian, which is happening very soon, and we have Janez for London. I don't need to, and also there is no like we have everything covered. Like, I'm just doing analysis because I feel like there's a whole level of understanding that people are lacking at the moment. Trampolines are my entering with any strategy. The strategy is I'm seeing the top of a specific range or a bottom of a specific range being tapped, understanding that is a liquidity, and potentially also seeing some closures on the higher time frames which are respecting the previous ranges, and it potentially just looking naked on the candle. So for example, something like this, right? If we had something like this candle closed with basically no top wick, respecting a level, cool, I am now looking for a trampoline towards these areas, right? Does that make sense? How much pip risking in peasant? I don't understand what peasant means, Mateus. Would you be able to explain that to me? It might be dumb, but I'm not too sure. Have I backtested using confluence of DXY levels too? What is DXY? Oh, percent? How much risk? It's always 1 to 2%. I'd use fixed lot sizes. So, for example, if you were to get into a sell here, right, you could probably have a slightly larger target. I would say you'd probably at least target down to here. But where your stop loss is going to be, probably like, I'm initially looking at like 91, but I'm also understanding if you break above 91, then it's likely to start breaking up, which is why it's a stop loss, right? 93 is a little bit high, probably like down to these sort of levels. Like, what was that? Yeah, like 91 is okay. So what is that in terms of a stop loss? 120 pips, perfect, right? Because we're understanding that at all of these points, at 83, 87, and potentially 89 as well, all of these levels are strong levels that price could potentially reject at. So if you don't get a rejection here, right, and pushes up, you might get a rejection here for it to start coming down. If not, you could get a rejection here, or you can get a rejection here and then it'll start coming down, right? So there's just areas which price will react at. I often see DXY approaches. I don't know what DXY is. DXY doesn't show what's going to be the next move. Yeah, okay, I just don't know what DXY is. Our stop loss is huge, yeah, of course. But then you just risk the appropriate amount, right? So for example, if I was in a sell here, say my stop loss is 120 pips, right? What is 1% if you're using the stop loss? Right, if I'm on a 100k account, which I am, and I'm using 1% risk, this is around maybe like a 1 lot or like a 0.8 lot, and this would be 1%. Does that make sense? The dollar index approaches major levels and gold sees. I mean, cool, man. You can use as many things as you want. I literally just read price. I just look at this chart and I don't look at anything else. Yeah, like you can risk whatever you want. Kurt risks 2.5 to 5% for 100 pip stop loss, you know. Yeah. It doesn't need to be complicated, right? Don's proven to us that all you need is the charts to be profitable. That's what we're trying to understand. That's what we're trying to learn, right? So your 4 hour closed. You kind of just created that top wick very quickly, which broke the previous. It's only 8 pips, but still. I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult. You are generally very bullish, so this could be liquidity to grab. Liquidity, like it could be a fake out to start coming down, right? Just some lower time frame liquidity grab to fill this range towards 71. But if you were to look for buys or whatever, you still need it like slightly lower. Which prop firm? I would say, oh, the prop I'm using, like something ACG, I think, Alpha Capital or something. Yeah, cool, Skirt. I'll see you tomorrow. Is tomorrow Thursday? Yeah, okay, I will be back tomorrow for another breakdown, guys. But yeah, no worries, guys. Thank you very much for coming around. If it was useful for you guys, you know, let me know. If you have anything you'd like to break down or you have questions, come back tomorrow, ask the questions, right? This is what it's for, right? This is, I don't have that many people right now, so you have a chance to understand as much as you can. What does pin mean? Are you talking about pip? Rees? A pip is just like, for example, if you were in a trade on the 5, right? Let's say you took a breakout here and you want to target here. This is 360 points, which is 36 pips. Cool. Alright, well, thank you very much for coming along, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow. But yeah, save your questions for tomorrow. And yeah, thanks for joining up.